The objective, or the broad objectives for this forum, are therefore to bring people together, both the existing and potential investors in the UK, with high-ranking government officials from Kenya and captains or leaders of industry and business, to dialogue and network on ways of enhancing British investments in Kenya. And number two, to promote trade between our two countries and work towards restoration and expansion of UK as a leading market destination for Kenyan goods outside East Africa.
And it's testament to the volume of investment that's coming into Kenya from all around the world and the opportunities that are there. And we've seen huge growth in financial services. We welcomed Prudential to Kenya last year. We've seen a big deal with De La Rue concluded very recently. And there's lots of investment coming in and people are succeeding.
Now, the bond between our two countries, between both members of the Commonwealth, is exceptionally strong and is rooted in a shared history, language, and indeed family ties as well. We have the same aspirations to make our countries more secure and more prosperous for all our citizens. And the UK government has been a significant development partner to Kenya for decades, and we remain absolutely committed to working in partnership with Kenya towards our shared goals. Now, today, we cooperate together across a wide range of fields, from our military partnership, which I myself have participated in up in Laikipia, to counter-terrorism, development cooperation, and climate change. Our partnership is flourishing, and nowhere more so than business.
Kenya and the United Kingdom, as you've heard, share warm and cordial relations, which are deeply rooted in our historical ties. The close relationship with the UK is not just born out of a long history of fraternal relations, but it's also manifested in real and concrete cooperation in a number of important fields. The strong ties between our countries are supported by language, by culture, by our legal systems, and the values that we share. Trade, investment, peace, and security remain the key elements of this collaboration. Kenya considers the United Kingdom a friend, an ally, as well as a significant development, trading, and investment partner. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, these relations have been further underpinned by a number of agreements and MOUs signed in the recent past. And I'm just going to mention a few, because many others have already been mentioned by Minister Elwood. The Defence Cooperation Agreement, which was earlier ratified by the UK Parliament and recently by the National Assembly in Kenya. The agreement is not only a reaffirmation of the lasting defence cooperation between Kenya and the United Kingdom, but a mutual commitment in capacity building and cooperation. We also signed an MOU to deepen cooperation in renewable energy, and I'm happy that that has been an issue that has been commented on by the speakers who spoke before me. And that was signed in May of 2016. It will promote opportunities for private sector investment by British companies in Kenya's renewable energy sector, which is an extremely dynamic sector. We also signed an MOU, which was signed by the chairman of our Chamber of Commerce and Industry, with the British Chambers of Commerce Kenya Limited in March of 2015. It aims at strengthening the relationship between the parties, the private sector members of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the British Chambers of Commerce Kenya Limited. Two MOUs between the Chartered Institute of Securities Investment, CISI, and the Capital Markets Authority, and the Kenya Association of Stockbrokers in September of 2014. The MOUs would deepen and address the skills gap in the financial and capital markets in Kenya and in the whole of the East African Community region. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the two countries also enjoy excellent trade ties, the UK being Kenya's leading trading partner outside of the East African Community. And the numbers and figures were given by Minister Elwood, but suffice it to say that it has grown from 500 million in 2004, that is sterling pounds, to a staggering 1.5 billion sterling pounds in 2015. That's given also the challenges that we had between 2007, 2008. Right? So it's actually not a bad figure, but again, as was indicated, the potential is immense. Let me also touch on the exchange of services and tourism, financial and professional services, which actually accounted for a huge figure, 881 million sterling pounds, which is 1.31 billion US dollars. So again, the potential is great. We have not exploited much of it, and we hope that with this, with fora such as this one, we'll be able to do much more. Now, I'll also talk about the number of British companies that are resident in Kenya today, and they have risen dramatically. They've risen dramatically, actually, I would say, and I am not going to claim credit for that, because we all worked very hard on it. But the number has grown from 2013 to date, from around 100 companies that were in Kenya to about 210 that are there today. So almost double the number of companies that were there when we actually began putting energy, commitment, and time into engaging with the private sector as we are doing today. And the value of investments today stands at 2.5 billion sterling pounds. So we do appreciate the investments, and we don't take them for granted, that the United Kingdom businesses have entrusted to the country's economy, and the contributions that these investments are making to the livelihoods and the welfare of our people. On the trade statistics, I think you've heard, trade has grown. We have an almost balanced exchange. We hope to maintain that so that as it grows both ways and not just one way. And I can tell you for sure that for us, this is really historic, the fact that our trade is almost balanced both ways. It's one of the only countries with which we have a balanced, in which the balance of trade has been stable. And the advantages and the increments have alternated between the two countries, so we are very, very happy with that. We just truly, honestly need to grow it. You've also heard what the products are that we export both ways. And ours are mostly flowers and coffee, tobacco, fruits, vegetables, and tea. And from the UK, it's machinery, motor vehicles, electrical and electronics equipment, medicinal and pharmaceutical products, among others. So the statistics that have been provided by all of us that have spoken are far below the potential existing in our two countries. This therefore calls for a redoubling of our commitment, our efforts, and the need to expand the scope of trade and investment between our countries. On our part, we are determined as a government to continue creating a business-friendly environment, and we are committed to keeping our economy open to all investors. This forum provides great opportunities for us to strengthen business ties, to explore new trade and investment prospects, and that is in line with our own economic diplomacy pillar in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It's something that we take very, very seriously, and we will continue to engage with you on that. On our economy, ladies and gentlemen, it was ranked as one of the highest recipients of foreign direct investments in 2015. And that was by a report of the investment monitoring platform, FDI Markets. The African Economic Outlook 2015 by the African Development Bank showed that Kenya defied challenges, both domestic and global, to attract 190 billion Kenya shillings in foreign direct investments in 2015. This was 65% higher than what the country attracted in 2014. In 1 year, we actually witnessed a 65% increment in foreign direct investments. The report further says that a significant portion of these FDI inflows were targeted at consumer-oriented sectors like retail and real estate. Further to this, many other international economic institutions have given Kenya a robust economic outlook. And I'll just mention 3 of them, and that is the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, Bloomberg, and the last one is Fortune, which recognizes Kenya as one of the 7 top investment destinations to watch in the emerging market. I will not go into what the World Bank, the IMF, and Bloomberg said. You probably have read that already. It's just, I think, for my role is to show that there is a stamp of confidence that the international investor community actually has in the economy of Kenya, and I think in the broader East African economy, and obviously in the economies on the continent. As such, I wish to encourage more investors to come and explore the wide range of opportunities existing across many sectors. Some of them have been mentioned, but let me touch on 3 main areas in which I think our region has a comparative advantage. The first one is ICT, and I think that's a no-brainer because investment actually came from the United Kingdom into Safaricom to support the development of ICT usage in the financial services sector. So we hope that we can actually attract much more investment into the ICT sector. The second one is extractives. Now that's new. There hasn't been much investment, but there has been British investment in it. And so we're hoping that we can attract more investment into the extractives. The 2 last ones are manufacturing, and there we really do need to grow our manufacturing sector. Energy was always the excuse. Well, now we have enough energy, and we actually have the figures to prove, which we can share during the dedicated sessions that we will have on energy. Now we have the energy that's required to grow manufacturing, to carry out value addition in the country, and we also have the skilled labor that you'd need to make that actually happen and take off. Agriculture and agribusiness is another area where we're actually looking for investment. It's an area, too, that has not attracted too much investment, and the investment it has attracted has not been one that we would encourage. And therefore, we're hoping that we would be able to encourage many of you to look at the agro business, especially since most of our exports into the British market, right, are agro-based. And so it's an area of future growth, and it's also a transformative area for us because of the rural population that's actually engaged in agriculture. I think the size of the economy has already been addressed by Minister Elwood, but let me say that it's the most integrated in our region. Our economy is the most integrated and the most diversified in the region, and I think that's probably why we were not as affected as other economies were with the developments that took place in the last few years. We also have, and we are always extremely proud of that, 2 things that are not, common or usual in our part of the world. One is a really young, dynamic, educated youth that's creative, that's innovative, that is hungry to do well, that is ready to engage with you and to ensure that any investment that you place in our country is actually well utilized and you get the returns that you're looking for. It's also, and I gave this example last night, it's also a youth that I think is recognized, for a labor force that's recognized across our region, across the whole of the continent, where you'd find Kenyans working in different countries, but also abroad. And I give an example of a French company that moved and has a presence in Nairobi today. And when I approached them, I talked to them in France last year, and recommended that they they actually come to Kenya, they gave me a condition. They said, listen, we will come, but we will have to recruit 50% of our labor from France. And I said, that's fine. We have no problem with that. The only condition I'd put on that, because I also, to balance the condition that you're placing on me, would have to tell you what I would like to see happen. And they said, well, okay. And I said, you start the recruitment in Nairobi. Start the recruitment, recruit the first 50%, from Kenya. After you're done with that, then move to France. We will support you. We'll make sure that it actually works. They started recruiting in Kenya, and they couldn't stop. A few months later, I had a meeting with them in my office, and they said, listen, we've recruited the numbers that we wanted from Kenya, and we are only going to recruit 2% from France. 98% of our workforce is going to be from Kenya. And that has been the example that I always give, because these were actually strangers to Kenya. Unlike you, many of you know Kenya well. But that French company was actually a stranger to Kenya. They did not believe that they would actually recruit 50% of their staff from Kenya. They came in and recruited 98%, and they could not believe that. And they thanked me because I'd saved them a lot of money. Since importing labor from France would have been much more expensive, actually, than recruiting labor from our own local market. And so that's one thing that we're extremely, extremely proud of. We invest heavily in education, as many of you who know Kenya would have seen and witnessed. The other thing that we're extremely proud of, and that we also keep talking about, is our private sector. We have a dynamic, a robust private sector that is ready to engage with you, that will form wonderful partners for you, right? And that will help you actually make the returns that you want to make in our country. As a government, because we actually have some of those ingredients already in place, our work was much simpler. It was to create a conducive environment for business to thrive in. And we believe we've done that. We believe that we've put in the regulatory framework that you'd need to have a successful presence in our country and to do good business in our country. We know that you're not coming to do charity and charitable work, but that you're coming there to make money. And we intend to make sure that when you come in, you don't leave. Now, the presence of 210 companies, I think, is evidence that when companies come into Kenya, they find an environment that is conducive for them to thrive and stay and grow. I will not talk about the LAPSET because I know that we have somebody who's going to address that fully. I think I'm going to stop there by giving you the following statistics. And that is that our position as a regional investment destination has not just done well, it's improved from position, it has improved, and we are ranked the most attractive destination for foreign direct investment. And that's not just the country, but the capital as well, the capital city of Nairobi. The cost of electricity in Kenya has gone down from 24% for domestic customers, 31% for lifeline customers, those consuming fewer than 50 units, and 27% for industrial customers. As I said, there's absolutely no reason why we should not go into manufacturing and value addition. The one reason that existed before was the cost of energy. That has gone down tremendously. The transmission and distribution infrastructure has also expanded. It's expanded from 3,621 kilometers in March of 2013 to 4,221 kilometers in March of 2016. We're actually targeting to expand transmission and distribution infrastructure to 6,379 kilometers by August of 2017, before we go into our elections, and 7,831 by December of 2018. The total capacity installed expanded by 4.7% from 1,717 megawatts in 2015 to 1,798.3 megawatts in 2014, and that was mainly due to increased geothermal capacity. And so we are obviously encouraging much more investment in that. Total electricity generation expanded by 8.2% to 9,138.7 in 2014. In the same period, domestic demand for electricity registered a growth of 3.8% to 7.768.6 in 2014, while the number of customers connected under the Rural Electrification Program expanded by 16.5%. And so you can actually do the manufacturing not just in the urban areas, but also countrywide. Manufacturing, which I'm encouraging growth in, recorded a growth of 3.4%, too low in 2014. And that growth was attributed to modest inflation and a decrease in oil prices, which led to reduction in input costs. Formal employment in the manufacturing sector increased by 2.9%. It can increase by 10 to 12% with the right kinds of investment. On ICT, and you'll get the figures later as well, expanded by 13.4% in 2014 from 12.3% in 2013. The other internet penetration, my colleagues are here and they'll talk about it, but it stood at 38.3% in 2014, while the total domestic short messaging services, SMS, sent increased by 38.5% to 27.5 billion SMSs in 2014. Our subscriptions, in terms of the mobile money subscriptions also reached 26.0 million, representing a penetration rate of 60%. I think one of the highest also on our continent. The two issues that I'd like to address, I think, as I close, are internal security, which also has been an issue of interest and which our High Commissioner has also talked about. On internal security, we have done everything that we can do as a country, and we continue doing everything that we can do. We have invested heavily in security. We have formed the partnerships that we need to form, including with the United Kingdom. We have created mechanisms and systems that speak to each other, as opposed to the silos in which they existed before. But this also is not a Kenyan problem. This is what happened everywhere else where there was an attack, which was not expected. The systems didn't talk to each other. There was no coherence. There wasn't proper coordination. We have worked on all that. I think we have far much better coordination than we ever did. We're much more coherent. We've been able to prevent some attacks, but I think we're doing much, much better than we did. As the High Commissioner said, we haven't had any incidents for 15 months now. And so we're keeping our fingers crossed that this will continue to be the case. But we are working very well with all our partners to just make sure that we have the right equipment, that we have the right capacity built, and that we have the right people in the right places to do this. We have also set up interagency coordination units, right, that have conversations almost throughout. And so we're doing, much better in terms of security. 3,000 security motor vehicles have been purchased and are in use and have been distributed to all parts of our country. We also have today armored personnel carriers across the border to reduce infiltration, especially from Somalia. And I can tell you for sure that that has done such a good job that today, as we speak, and this was confirmed by the President of Somalia, there's only 10% of the territory of Somalia that still has remnants of Al-Shabaab. 90% has been cleared, and it's because of the work that we have helped do together with our other partners in AMISOM. We've also installed CCTV cameras across the cities, and that has helped to monitor and make real-time interventions in crime situations. Today, I think we're recognized as Kenya as a country that has taken leadership in counterterrorism, and we intend to keep it that way. But again, I'd just like to say, because the Minister is here, that we're really grateful for the support that we have continued to receive from the United Kingdom. We've also agreed in our bilaterals that we are going to make sure that support was much more focused and that we allow it to expand and ensure that these kind of attacks are limited to a minimum, or at least, or maybe even eliminated totally. So, Excellencies, participants, and colleagues from Nairobi, I get really, really excited when I talk about Kenya and when I talk about Africa. And the reason is because we are in a place where we have never been before. For the continent, this is a new space that we are occupying. A place that's full of hope, that's full of expectation, that has realized real growth. Hasn't happened for many, many years. Africa was looked at as the continent that nobody paid attention to. I remember attending meetings where we were told, you know what, you don't even have the capacity to understand what we're saying. How can we do anything on the continent? To a time now when whenever we agree to have discussions, there's interest. There's interest in what's happening on the continent, there's interest in coming in, there's interest in supporting it, in encouraging it, and in allowing us to grow together. We hope that we can encourage you to have the same level of interest that you have today. On the continent, we're doing the best that we can. We're doing things together, much better than we did. In East Africa, I think we've done almost everything that needs to be done. We're working on getting the EPAs fully signed and ratified. A number of us have done that. The other countries have requested for time. We've agreed on what kind of time frame will be acceptable, and I think the 3-month period is okay, since we have a 4-month period that has been granted to us to make sure that we get all the things that need to be done. So we, on our part, are doing everything. There are great opportunities on our continent. There are great opportunities in our country. There are some challenges, too. We would like to hear about them, and we would like to see how we can work on those so that we remove all the challenges that remain. But we are ready to engage. Africa, Kenya, open for business, and we hope that you will come and join us in not just developing our countries, but supporting the fight against terrorism, because as we develop, as there's economic development in our countries, we reduce the space from which recruitment of some of these people can take place. We get rid of that fertile ground that they can use to recruit. But also we create the purchasing power that we need on the continent to buy the goods that you produce in the north. So all around, I think the development of Africa is good for all of us. The economic growth of Kenya, of East Africa, is excellent for all of us. And it will ensure that we keep growing and we're able to meet the challenges, the few challenges that still exist. Thank you.